In this module, we're going to look at sorting and filtering data in Excel. We're going to start off with a very quick and very simple overview of sorting and filtering with a small data set. Then we're going to use our short-term rental data from the City of Toronto in order to apply some of these ideas. Once we're done working through that part together, then there's a short quiz. Once you've finished those items, you'll be able to answer the quiz questions. Things like how many different types of properties are there in this data set, and we'll be able to sort and filter and then find the answers to that. Once you've finished the video and the quiz, then you're going to download your own data set and apply these different ideas. This is where it really comes together, because even though we have a set of procedures that we're working through, every data set is a little bit different, so trying to apply some of these concepts to your own data is going to take a little bit of extra effort and a little bit of thinking through some of those problems. So let's get started. In this module, we're going to look at sorting and filtering. We'll start off by looking at this very simple example of just some kind of made up data, and then we're going to apply those ideas to the short-term rentals data set that's available on the Toronto website. So what is sorting and filtering? Sorting is really just arranging things in order, and then filtering is taking a subset of the data that we have. So to start off, in our little example here, we have about 20 rows of completely arbitrary data. We have an ID number that's unique. Column A is just letters, A, B, C, and so on. Column 2 is numeric. Date is a date column, and then we have a column called progress, complete, not started, or in progress, and we've colored the background depending on that status. So anything that's not started is red, in progress is yellow, and complete is green. Pretty common way of kind of tracking things as we go. So we're going to use this as our starting point in order to sort and filter, and then again we're going to apply that to a larger data set of a little over 7,000 rows of our short-term rentals data set. So starting off with our little example here, the first thing that we're going to look at is sorting. And what does sorting mean? Sorting is really just arranging things in a certain order. That can be alphabetical order, it can be numeric, it can be by date. There's a lot of different ways that we can sort, but really sorting is just putting things in a specific order. Now to do that, let's say we wanted to sort based on this column here, which is just a numeric column. We can see these are all numbers. We can sort that from smallest to largest or largest to smallest. How do we do that? Well, the first thing is applying this filter. So across the top, you can see our data has a header column. This is just the name of each one of these columns. So I'm going to highlight this, and then from the ribbon, I'll go over to data and then click filter. So once I click filter, you'll see that there's a little drop down in each one of the columns here. And from here, we can apply filters and sorting fairly easily. So if I wanted to, again, sort by this column from smallest to largest, I can just click this drop down, and then I can click smallest to largest, and it will sort everything here. Or I could click largest to smallest, and it'll sort everything here. When it's sorted by specific column, you can see beside the drop down, there's a little arrow. So there's a down arrow here because it's largest to smallest. If I go smallest to largest, you can see a little up arrow there. That's going from smallest to largest. One thing to really make note of is the relationship between the columns of each row doesn't change. So ID number 19 is B0, November 22nd, complete. If I change this order to go smallest to largest, then we still have that same one with the same data across the row. So when everything is filtered across, then everything changes and is connected together, is kept consistent. Now, if you didn't go all the way across with your headers, that can be problematic. So really just make sure that you have everything selected when you apply that filter. So that's a really simple filter, a really simple sort to start. We sorted by column. We can also sort by letters, so A to Z. So I'm going to click on this column here, A to Z, and you can see we have the A's, and then the B's, and then the C's, and so on. Or I could sort reverse alpha, Z to A, and we can see that. We can also sort by date, so number and alpha is probably the most common, but often we want to sort by date, and we can see that this is a date column. If we go to the home ribbon, this is set up as a date. Here we can sort oldest to newest, or newest to oldest, and you can even apply some filters, which we'll look at later. You can also sort by color, so this is maybe not as common, but still fairly useful. Sometimes if you're making a list, and this is pretty common in Excel, you have a list of complete, not started, in progress. If you wanted to sort this, you could do it alphabetically, or you can sort things by color. So we can sort by color, where, yeah, we'll do green, or we can even do a custom sort here. So we can sort by progress, sort value on cell color, and we can say red is going to be on top, and then we can add a level where cell color, yellow is going to be next, and then progress, cell color green is going to be next. And we can see that has changed there. So there's a few different ways that we can sort our data. We're going to move on to filtering next, and filtering is really just taking a subset of our data. We can use the same approach with the header dropdowns in order to filter. So for example, let's say I only wanted to select items that were in progress. I can use this in progress tab, and I can unclick that, the select all, and I only want in progress, so I can click OK. And now that only shows values that are, or observations, rows that are in progress. You'll notice that the font color has changed to blue on the left hand side here, and all of the row numbers are staying consistent. We haven't deleted anything, we haven't removed anything. This is just temporarily hidden all of the items that don't match the in progress scenario. To get rid of this filter, I can either just clear the filter here, or I could select all, or I could even go up to the data ribbon and clear the filter. I'm just going to clear it right here, clear from progress. And that brings everything back. Other ways that we can filter this, maybe we only wanted certain items in the second column here. We only wanted C's and D's. Again, it'll filter that way, and we can see the blue font on the left to show that there are rows that are temporarily hidden, and then I can clear that. Other ways that we can filter is numerically. So let's say with this column here, maybe we want to filter within a range. So I could say number filter between, let's say between 5, greater than or equal to 5, and less than or equal to 15. Then now it's only showing rows where this column is greater than 5, greater than or equal to 5, and less than 15. We can also do the same with date. So date filters, I could say this month, last month, this quarter, before a certain time, after a certain time, between two dates. So why don't we say anytime before dates, date filter, anytime before June 1st. And then I can say OK, and it's filtered down only rows that match that criteria. If I go up to the data ribbon again, I can clear this filter. So I can just hit clear, and then it brings everything back. The exact same way using the drop-down menu. Lots of different ways that we can clear our filter. So this is a pretty quick overview of sorting and filtering. We've looked at this on a kind of an arbitrary but really small little data set. Next, we're going to apply this to our short-term rentals data set. Again, this is available on the Toronto Open Data Portal. So first off, it's always good to kind of explore our data a little bit. everything's jammed in here, so I'm just going to click and drag across the top here and then double click, and that will make each column wide enough to see all of the content. Exploring our data a little bit here, we have ID, operator registration number, address, unit, postal code, property type, ward number, and ward name. These are fairly self-explanatory, but it's often a good idea to look at a data dictionary if possible. Thankfully, in this case, there is a data dictionary available from the source where I downloaded. So if we just take a quick look at that, we have our data dictionary. ID is the unique row identifier, so that should be completely unique. We shouldn't see any duplicates in our ID number. Operator registration number, the registration number issued by the City of Toronto. So I guess there could be duplicates there. There could be more than one location for one operator. Address, that's the address of the location. Unit, if it has a unit number. Postal code is not the full postal code, but the first 3 characters of the location. Property type, so depending on what type of unit it is, apartment, condo, single family, and so on. Ward number and name, that's the ward that it's in. So each ward has a number and each ward has a name as well. Now that we know a little bit more about our data set and we're a little bit more familiar with what's going on in these columns here, we can start looking at these 2 tabs. So I have one that says sort tasks and one that says filter tasks, and we're going to work through these steps in order to explore how to apply sorting and filtering. So in the sort tasks, we're going to start off with some simple sorting. We're just going to sort one column at a time, and then we're going to do a multi-column sort, including multi-level sorts. So starting off here, in order to sort, again, we have to make sure that the entire top row is selected. So normally we're on the home ribbon here. I'm going to select the entire top row, and then I'm actually going to click on the data ribbon and click the filter button. When I do this, you should see the drop downs for each column here. One other thing that I like doing is just highlighting everything and making it bold. This isn't something that you have to do, but I find it's just a little bit easier to see what's going on there. So if we go back to our tasks here, our sort tasks, we can sort one column at a time, and this is just to sort of get familiar with sorting. So why don't we sort by property type? Maybe we'll sort A to Z. We can see that starts with apartments, and if we scroll down, condos, lots of condos, duplexes, and so on, all the way down. So we have, if I click on one of the columns here, we have 7,336 rows of data, including our header row. So a reasonably sized data set that we're working on here. Other sorting, ward is a number, so we could sort by ward number, although it doesn't necessarily always work that way, but we can sort smallest to largest or largest to smallest. We could also sort by ward name in alphabetical order, and we have our data there. So nice, simple, easy sort tasks, just sorting one column at a time. And this will typically depend on what it is that you're trying to achieve with the data that you have in front of you. Next, multi-column sort. So often we want to sort in sort of a hierarchy. In this case, we've just sort of arbitrarily sorted, initially sorted by property type, and then I think by word number and name. And when there's a tie, and by that I mean all apartments, sometimes you want to sort on a secondary item, like postal code or maybe ID number or something like that. Now, in order to do this, there's 2 ways that we can do that. We can either just sort in a certain order, from least important to most important, or we can use a multi-level sort in the data ribbon. And when I say from least important to most important, in this case, ward name is the most important, type is the second most, and then postal code is the most important. So if I go to short-term rentals, I'm going to sort by ward name first. So I'll go A to Z, or wait a minute, sorry, postal code first. There we go. Ward name is the most important, so we're going to do that last. Postal code first, A to Z, then type, A to Z, and then ward name, A to Z. So now beaches, and then the second most important was the type, and the third most important was postal code. And by this I mean we have everything in beaches, so we can scroll all the way down and there's all kinds of properties in the beaches. Then everything that's a tie, all of the apartments get grouped together. So apartment is not going to be shown again until we get out of beaches. There we go. Apartment doesn't show up again until we get to Davenport. So all of the beaches is grouped together, then all of the apartments in beaches is grouped together, and then the least important or final thing that we did was postal code. So you can see alphabetical order here. Now we have a few ties or a few similar or identical properties here, and it gets sorted that way. So this is kind of a multi-level sort. Another way we can achieve the same thing is by using one of the tools in the data ribbon. Now we're going to try to get to the exact same setup or the exact same kind of sorting. So in order to change that a little bit or kind of get back to our default, I'm just going to sort everything by ID. So I'll sort smallest to largest by ID just to kind of reset our data. In order to do this, we're using a multi-sort by the same items. So ward is most important, then type, then postal code. I can click anywhere in our data, then go to the data ribbon, and then I can sort. We can add different levels. So I'm going to first go by ward name was the most important. Then I'll add a level, and that'll be A to Z. Then by type, property type, A to Z, and then by postal code, A to Z. And we want to leave this clicked. My data has headers because our first row is the header of each column. This isn't data, this is just the description of each column. And then I'll click OK. And now we have the same idea, beaches, apartments, and then sorted by postal code. So multiple ways to get to the same result. We'll move to filtering next. So sorting and filtering are fairly similar. Again, sorting is just arranging things in a certain order, where filtering is taking a subset or temporarily hiding some of our data. If we look at our filtering tasks, we can use a simple filter. Let's say we want to use the drop-down to filter by the ward. Here, I can just click on a certain ward name and I can deselect. So if I click the select all to eliminate everything, I can click on one of these, and then this shows me only Toronto Centre data. Again, you can see the blue row numbers here showing that things are hidden and everything is still there, just temporarily hidden. To get rid of this filter, I can either just click this clear button up here, or from the drop down I can clear the filter from ward name. You can do that for any column as well. We can do a multi-filter, so we can, here we're going to look for Toronto Centre that are condos. So ward name, I'm going to deselect and only look at Toronto Centre. And I only want condos, so from the property type, deselect and click on condominium. And now we can see that we only have rows that match condo and Toronto Centre. Blue text for the row numbers to signal that some of the rows are hidden. I can clear this to bring everything back, and now we're back to our regular full data set. So we've looked at ways of filtering based on two columns, so one item in each of those two columns. We can also select multiple items in each column. So let's say I wanted a multi-filter with the wards of either Etobicoke North or Etobicoke Centre. then I can click on more than one of these. So Etobicoke Center or Etobicoke North. Now it has Etobicoke Center, Etobicoke North, and let's say I wanted condos or apartments. Then I can select here apartment or condo, and now it's bringing me everything that matches either Etobicoke Center or Etobicoke North. That's a condo or an apartment. So this is looking at the and or, right? So this is just looking at when only one of those conditions has to be true for the word name, either Etobicoke Center or Etobicoke North, and only one of the conditions need to be true for property type, either apartment or condo. And then I can clear that filter out as well. We're going to do that one more time with a slightly different setup, and then we're going to copy and paste our data to a new sheet. So let's say we only wanted to look at Scarborough Center and Scarborough North and Scarborough Southwest, and we only wanted to see townhomes, townhouse or row house. Now we have our data here, Scarborough North, Center, or Southwest, and only townhouses. Now the rows that are hidden, they still exist, and if we were to try to build graphs or do some other counts, it might get a little bit messy. So often what we do is just click and drag everything, Control C or right click to copy, and then in a new sheet we'll call this filtered data. In this new sheet, I'm just going to paste, copy, paste, and now we have all of our data. Notice there's no blue lines anymore. It only goes from, in this case, 1 to 39. Now we could apply other filters in here. We could create graphs or do some other analysis. But a very common approach after you're filtering something is to copy and paste that data to a new sheet. So we've copied that to a new sheet. Then we can clear all these filters. So I'm going to go back to our original data. I'll clear these filters, and then we can move on to the next step. Filtering with numbers is pretty straightforward, like we saw in our little example here. We can filter between values or greater than or less than certain values. With our character variables or character strings, there's a few different ways that we can work with this too. So we can, if we look at some of the word names here, Etobicoke, there's multiple Etobicokes, so I could just select Etobicoke Center, Etobicoke North, Etobicoke Lakeshore, and filter it that way. Center, North, Lakeshore. But I'm going to clear this and show a different way that we can make this happen. We can also do a text filter, begins with, or even contains. So why don't I say contains Etobicoke, and then click OK. And now it has Etobicoke Center, Etobicoke North, and Etobicoke Lakeshore. This can be very, very useful if you have multiple items, just like we have here, where multiple items that maybe, rather than clicking on each one, you want to be sure that you select all of them. I'm going to clear this and then look for one other way that we can do this. So text filter, we did contains, but you can do begins with as well. So Scarborough has a lot, so if I do scar, begins with SCAR, then this will only return or only include rows that start with SCAR in the word name. Now we have Scarborough Center, Scarborough North, Southwest, Scarborough Agincourt, Guildwood, Rouge Park, and that's a little bit faster if things are set up properly, where you can just do a filter like that. I'm going to clear this filter. You can either clear it here, or I could just clear it up there. We can also do the same idea apply the same idea to address. So let's say we wanted to look at everything on Front Street. This gets a little bit hectic because there are numbers, house numbers, in front of the street name typically. So I could just, click on a text filter, contains front, and then click OK. And now we have Front Street, and maybe I wanted to make sure that the front street that we were looking at was in Spadina, Fort York. Okay, good. There's only one in here, but sometimes you might need to double check that, and we're all good there. So I can clear this, and then we'll move on to the next. The final thing we're going to do here is try to get a list of the different property types, and then have a list without duplicates. So right now we have apartment, townhouses, condos, duplexes. This long list is useful for the way this is set up, but sometimes we just want a list of the different property types in this example. So I'm going to copy this entire column. Just going to right click and copy, and then in a new sheet I'm just going to paste this, and I'm going to move this to the end, and we'll call this property types. Don't need the name property type, so I'm actually going to delete that. But then from this column, I can go up to the data ribbon, and then there's this little icon here that has an X through the duplicate. So this is remove duplicates. Remove duplicates from column A. My data does not have headers, so I'm going to leave that unchecked in my case. And I'll click OK. 7,327 duplicates were found and removed. 10 unique remain. So now I have apartment, townhouse, condo, duplex, and so on. And these are the unique values of our different property types. So that brings us to the end of sorting and filtering. We use the short-term rentals data set to explore this, in addition to a very simple example at the beginning. Sorting and filtering is very, very common and something that you'll likely do with every new data set that you encounter.